Welcome back. You may have some point caught our segments of What's Brewing or tuned into Brewed on Saturdays, but this morning we want to introduce you to an Illinois woman who's focused instead on distilling. She's the founder and owner of a tequila brand. We talked with her to learn about her journey as an entrepreneur. And Mara Smith joining us now. Mara, thanks so much for taking the time to chat with us this week.
Hi, it's so nice to be here, John.
I want to get started just kind of giving folks an understanding of your background. You're from Illinois. Tell us a little bit about yourself before we get into your brand and what we're going to be talking about today. I just want to get a sense of who you are.
Yeah, so born and raised in the Chicagoland area. So grew up here, actually went to undergrad at University of Illinois, so didn't leave or go very far. Studied accounting, then came back, still stayed in the state, and went to Northwestern Law School. From law school, kind of took a really kind of conservative route and went to a really big law firm and started my career at a very large law firm in Chicago, and was there for many years. I think I, at that point, was never even contemplating, going an entrepreneurial route. Wanted to make sure I could pay off my law school debt. And so went to a big law firm, practiced transactional law for many years. Great experience. You get thrown in the fire really quickly and learn a lot very fast. And it was a great experience. But once I knew that I wanted to start a family, I was married at the time and wanted to, start a family. And by the way, I'm still married, but just was married at the time of my law firm. But really, I had no role models in my law firm to see how it was possible to manage life at a large law firm, and having a family. So at the time I was there were no female partners in my entire department. So really, the only option I saw was making a transition. So I decided I was going to try and do something more on the business side and use more of my business background. And so at that point, I left to join the corporate strategy group at McDonald's Corporation. So it was a whole new world for me. And it was a new group for them at the time. And I just found the whole process actually really kind of eye-opening for me. We were studying consumer trends and insights and ideating, coming up with new concepts and ideas, and really kind of sparked my entrepreneurial spirit then of thinking like, oh, what kind of, company would I like to start?
You chose to get into the world of tequila. I can't imagine um, that was easy. So tell me about the genesis of that and making that transition.
The reason I decided on tequila, I always knew I was going to start, my own company. I'd been thinking about it for years. I knew I wanted it to be something in the food and beverage arena because it's just personally something that resonates with me. I'm a great consumer. I love taste testing. I kept coming back to tequila because I've been a tequila drinker for years, and it just became my clean spirit option of choice. And what I kept hearing is all these women would tell me that tequila is their drink of choice. So really, it was just I saw a big market opportunity that all these women drink tequila, and I didn't think that any big brands really spoke to this consumer or focused on her as a primary consumer. She's just generally overlooked in the spirits industry. So I saw a consumer that I could really speak directly to and understand and create something very customer centric from the look, taste, and aroma profiles. I also had discovered in my research that most of the tequilas have additives and use additives, and the tequilas that I was drinking contained additives, coloring, flavoring, glycerin. So once I learned that, I thought, is there a way to create the taste profile that this consumer gravitates towards and make it a really easy to drink, sippable tequila, but without using the additives to enhance it or create those sweeter tasting notes? And frankly, I also saw an opportunity if I was going to re-enter the workforce. I wanted to be able to make an impact, and this just happened to be an industry where women are so underrepresented. I saw an opportunity to really bring a female perspective, and so for me, it was important to have women involved in every part of our process. So everyone from our master distiller in Mexico to sales, to operations, I try and work with suppliers that are woman-owned, vendors, agencies that are women owned. I just thought here I could really bring just a little bit of a unique perspective, and hopefully make women feel a little bit more relevant in an industry where they're not they don't have a lot of representation.
How, after you brought on these women to work with you, including the master distiller, how have you seen that specifically influenced your product? Whether it was the product inside the bottle design, or just sort of the story behind it.
Yes, I think it actually impacts all those things. So I'll start even the first thing I did was the bottle design, right? I really wanted a bottle that I would want to display on my home bar. I wanted something super sleek and sophisticated. You've seen the bottle, I have the bottle here. I wanted something that was just really simple, sleek, contemporary. I also wanted to be very functional. So it is very purposefully easy to hold and pour. So those big round snout bottles I found hard to manipulate. So it even started from the bottle design, how I wanted to look and how I wanted to function. Um, as far as the liquid inside, I knew I wanted some of those sweeter tasting notes, very little bite, especially very little bite on the back end. And so for this particular consumer, um, and so when I, brought on my master distiller, Anna Maria Romero Mena, I had set her out with that task, like how can we create those notes? So our process um, is very unique for a Blanco tequila, in that we actually rest it in used American oak barrels for a short period of time. And that resting in barrels, which is not traditionally done with a Blanco tequila. Traditionally, Blanco tequila, after it's distilled, it's bottled. We actually distill it, we let it stabilize for a minimum of 30 days, and then we barrel rest it to bring out those sweeter notes without using any additives. So even from the taste profile inside, and also our master distiller is the one who created the aroma wheel in tequila, um, and identifying 600 aromas in tequila and where they're generated in the production process. And I thought, especially for this consumer, um, you know, how the aroma impacts the taste was really important. So that was even something she worked on, is how do we get the right aroma on it? And so I think everything about it was really thoughtfully done with this consumer. And clearly, as far as messaging, I mean, I feel like because I am this consumer, I'm able to relate to her, speak to her in a really educated way. That she is an educated, thoughtful consumer who cares about what she eats and drinks and the brands that she supports. Um, so I think that messaging also comes through as well.
You have the Rosa. I don't know how recently
Yeah.
the Rosa came out, but you have the Rosa, you have the Blanc, obviously, that we talked about. Can we talk a little bit about the Rosa? What makes that different? And can you clue us into maybe what's next? Are you working on something else?
So right now, I am not working on anything else because I really, for me, it's so important to build it and just keep delivering on quality, like maintain consistency and quality in the two SKUs. Um, that's really my focus. The Rosa is a Rosa Reposado because it's very unique. It's the first tequila that's been aged in rosé wine barrels, so it has this pinkish hue to it, but that was created just from the rosé wine barrels and not using any coloring. So often, if you see a pink color, tequila or drink, it's because of some coloring. We don't use any coloring in it. It's confirmed additive free, just like our Blanco. It's really exciting because I think it's a very unique expression. I think there's unique tasting notes, a unique aroma, just because we're using not only wine barrels, but we're using rosé wine barrels. I think the reason no one else is doing that is because, as an outsider, you don't know what you don't know. So I didn't realize that it's very difficult to source rosé wine barrels because it is a young wine that is traditionally not aged at all. So I scoured the planet calling vineyards all around the world to see if anyone had rosé wine barrels. It was very hard to find them. We finally did locate them in the south of France. Um, but so I think I like that there's an ability, even in a really, competitive category like tequila, to still do something a little bit innovative and offer, a twist on an expression. I think it's also a really approachable reposado as far as someone who maybe is new to aged tequilas, that it's a really approachable way to kind of enter that category.
Your attention to detail is obviously apparent in the product. Mara Smith, thank you so much for taking the time this week.
Thank you so much for having me.